say a mother and her daughter are missing in Vancouver, and now they're asking the public's help to find her.
Now, Liz Birch is live in Vancouver now. And Liz, what have you learned about this?
Police tell me today they believe there is a criminal connection to these disappearances. They're investigating, and now they're asking the public for information.
We haven't seen them since last Sunday. Nobody's talked to them or heard them since last Sunday, And that's not normal. That is definitely not normal.
With breaking and heartbreaking news tonight at 5 o'clock, a missing Vancouver mother and daughter have been found dead. Vancouver police say the bodies of Meshay Melendez and her daughter Layla Stewart were discovered in a rural area near Washougal. This is just off Southeast Sunset View Road. Officers say they were able to identify them based on unique genetic markings, while family and friends search elsewhere for Meshay and Layla throughout the day.
And this development marks a sudden, tragic end for a family that have told us over and over the last 48 hours they were trying to stay strong. They were hoping against hope their loved ones would come home.
This is very unusual for her, so I was expecting it, but I still, I literally fell out. I fell out. I couldn't breathe. No way. And then to hear, Layla too. She's 8.
For 10 days, there was nothing. No call, no message, no sighting that held up. Just a mother in Vancouver, Washington, staring at a phone that should have rung on schedule and didn't. Then, on the 22nd of March, 2023, that silence ended, but not the way anyone had been praying for. Down a steep embankment off a back road near Washougal, hidden in brush thick enough to swallow a person whole, someone walking a dog found 2 bodies. Clark County Sheriff's deputies were called out, and what they confirmed at the bottom of that slope turned a missing persons case into something else entirely. The 2 who had vanished were a young mother and her 7-year-old daughter. Their names were Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart. You are watching Silent Outcome. Before we continue, like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss a case like this.
No words can express the fact that they now bury their only daughter and granddaughter for a senseless crime that never had to take place.
Before any of this, before the search warrants and the courtrooms and the names that would end up in headlines, there was just a family in Vancouver, Washington, doing what families do. At the center of it was Meshay Melendez. Her full name was Meshay Carmen Melendez, and to the people who knew her, she was the kind of person a room noticed when she walked into it. And then there was Layla, 7 years old, Meshay's daughter. Meshay was raising Layla as her mother. Around them was a family that stayed close. Her mother, Nicole Norris, was the kind of presence who expected to hear from her daughter regularly. Not occasionally. Regularly. That detail matters, and it will matter again later, because it tells you something about the rhythm of this family's life. There was an expectation of contact, a pattern. The kind of pattern you only notice once it's broken. Meshay had 2 brothers, Miguel and Ricardo. Layla's father, Javante Stewart, was part of her life as well, a presence the family would later describe in the context of everything that was taken from him, too. Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart were simply living their lives in Vancouver, Washington, surrounded by people who loved them and expected, without question, to keep hearing from them. That expectation is the thing to hold on to, because everything that happens next is going to test it. Before Kirkland Warren, there was already a story. Meshay was a single mother. Layla's father, Javante Stewart, was part of her past by the time this next chapter of her life began. A man who loved his daughter but was no longer the man sharing a home with Meshay day to day. That's not unusual. Plenty of families look exactly like this. A mother raising her daughter, building a life, and somewhere along the way, someone new comes into the picture. That someone was Kirkland Warren. Warren wasn't from Vancouver originally. He was from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a small city about 2 hours south of Little Rock. And in November of 2017, when Warren was 22 years old, something happened in Arkansas that would follow him for the rest of his life, whether anyone in Washington knew about it or not. He was arrested in connection with a homicide. He posted bond, and at some point after that, Kirkland Warren left Arkansas behind and made his way to Washington state. By 2020, records show he was already living in the Vancouver area. To anyone meeting him there, he was just a guy from out of state. Nobody handed out a history sheet when someone moved to town. Nobody mentioned that the man settling into Vancouver life had an open murder case sitting in a courthouse 2,000 miles away, one that had never been resolved, one where he was technically still out on bond, still waiting for a trial date that kept not arriving. On top of that, Warren had a wife. Her name was Monet Tyler Warren, and she worked at a credit union in Portland. So when Kirkland Warren became part of Meshay's life, he wasn't arriving as a blank slate. He was arriving as a man already living inside several lives at once, a husband, a fugitive from an unresolved homicide case, and at some point, someone close enough to Meshay to later be described, publicly, as her ex-boyfriend. None of this was visible from the outside. To the people around Meshay, what mattered was what they could see. A new man in the picture. A relationship that existed, the way relationships do, in the ordinary spaces of daily life. There's no record of alarm bells going off in this window. No record of anyone in Meshay's circle flagging Warren as dangerous before anything had happened to flag. That's the part worth sitting with. Because somewhere in Vancouver, Washington, a woman who had already built a life as a single mother let a new person into that life, the way people do every single day, with no way of knowing what he was carrying with him. And 2 states away, in a courthouse in Jefferson County, Arkansas, a case with his name on it sat untouched, waiting. From the outside, whatever was happening between Meshay and Kirkland Warren looked like a relationship. Nothing more, nothing less. He was around. He was part of her world, the way a partner is part of someone's world. Nobody around Meshay was treating him as a threat, because there was nothing yet that had forced anyone to. That changed in December of 2022. That month, Kirkland Warren was accused of firing shots at the apartment building where Meshay lived. Not a threat made in private. Not a warning whispered behind closed doors. Gunfire, directed at the building that held her home and her daughter's home, in the Minnehaha area of Vancouver. This is the moment the story stops being something that could be explained away later as a misunderstanding or a bad night. Someone fired a weapon at the place where a mother and a 7-year-old child slept. And here is the part that's hard to sit with. That moment did not end things. It did not remove Warren from Meshay's life. Whatever happened in the weeks after that shooting, Kirkland Warren was still close enough to Meshay, still enough of a presence, that 3 months later, he would be arrested again, this time on charges that named her specifically as the victim of an assault. The gunfire in December did not close a door. It opened a window into what was coming. That arrest came on the 2nd of March, 2023. Vancouver police took Warren into custody, and the next day, he made his first appearance in Clark County Superior Court. What happened in that courtroom is worth slowing down for, because it is the moment the danger stopped being something only Meshay could feel and became something the system put a number on. Prosecutors presented a danger assessment for Kirkland Warren. This is a tool used to score how likely an abuser is to seriously harm or kill their victim. The scale runs from 1 to 18. 18 is the highest score the scale was built to measure. Kirkland Warren scored a 31. Sit with that for a second. The tool topped out at 18, and he went 13 points past the top of it. Prosecutors told the court Warren posed an extreme risk to Meshay. They also reminded the court that Warren still had an open homicide case sitting unresolved in Arkansas, a case where he had been out on bond for years. Judge Susan Clark set his bail at $100,000. And she signed something else that day, a domestic violence no-contact order, naming Meshay Melendez as the person Kirkland Warren was now legally forbidden from contacting in any way. On paper, in that moment, the system had done something. A judge had looked at the evidence, looked at the score, looked at the history, and drawn a line. Kirkland Warren was not allowed near Meshay. Not a call, not a message, nothing. He was still sitting in the Clark County Jail when he picked up the phone. Hours after that no-contact order was signed, Warren called Meshay, not once, twice. From inside the jail, on a recorded line, he called the woman a judge had just ordered him to leave alone, and he told her something. He told her this was her fault. He told her she was responsible for his arrest, and that she needed to find a way to get the charges dropped. Meshay told him she was trying to make it go away. And in that same call, Warren said something else, almost as an aside. The way people reveal what they're actually afraid of when they think no one's really listening. He told her he wasn't going back to Arkansas. That's the whole picture, in one phone call. A man the system had just labeled an extreme risk, ordered to stay away from a woman, on a recorded jail line, within hours, pressuring that same woman to make his legal problems disappear. While privately admitting the thing he feared most wasn't this case in Washington, it was the one waiting for him back home. On the night of the 11th of March, 2023, a friend was watching Layla. That's it. That's the whole setup. A Saturday night, a kid at a friend's place. The kind of arrangement that happens in families every single weekend without anyone giving it a second thought. Layla was 7. She was somewhere familiar, with someone Meshay trusted enough to leave her with. At some point that night, Kirkland Warren came to pick Layla up, and Meshay was with him. She was in the car. The friend who was there that night would later tell investigators something about that moment. Meshay wasn't acting like herself. She wasn't responding the way a person responds when they're simply tired or having an off night. Something about her was wrong, in a way that registered immediately to the person standing there, even if there was no way, in that moment, to know what it meant or what to do about it. The friend didn't call anyone that night. Not the police, not Meshay's mother. It's easy, from the outside, looking back, to wonder why. But that's the thing about a moment like this. In real time, it doesn't arrive labeled. It's just a strange few seconds in someone's driveway, late on a Saturday night, and then it's over, and Layla is gone with her mom, the way she's gone with her mom all the time. The next morning, the 12th of March, 2023, Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart were seen near Vancouver, Mall, Drive, and Northeast 77th Avenue, an ordinary stretch of road. The kind of place with a strip mall and a gas station and cars passing through on their way to somewhere else. That is the last verified sighting of either of them. After that morning, there is nothing. No video chat with her mother, no message to her brother, no call to anyone. For a family that had built its rhythm around staying in touch around Nicole Norris, hearing from her daughter on a regular basis, around Layla being the kind of kid who'd want to tell someone about her day, that silence didn't make sense. It wasn't just unusual. It was a break in a pattern that had never been broken before. Somewhere between an ordinary Saturday night and an ordinary Sunday morning, Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart crossed out of the world everyone around them could see. Years before any of this, back in 2017, Kirkland Warren was accused of killing a man in Arkansas and leaving the body along a rural roadside. He was arrested that December. The next day, He posted a $250,000 bond and walked out. Murder charges were formally filed a couple months later, and then the case simply sat, year after year. By 2023, Kirkland Warren had been free on bond for a murder charge in Arkansas for longer than some marriages last. That open case is why, when everything in Washington happened, prosecutors kept bringing Arkansas up. It wasn't background noise. It was the reason they were asking for higher bail, and it shaped everything the court ordered that day. And on the same day all of that happened, Warren posted bail and walked out of the Clark County Jail. He didn't stay out long. What he'd done from inside that jail cell became a case of its own, and on March 6th, he was back in district court to answer for it. And in that hearing, something almost happened that could have changed everything. The sergeant who had built the case asked the judge for two things: higher bail and a GPS ankle monitor, the kind made possible by something called the Tiffany Hill Act, a Washington law named after a Vancouver mother who was shot and killed by her estranged husband in 2019. Clark County didn't just have this law on the books. Clark County had built the program. It was one of the only counties in the state actually using it. Judge Kristen Parcher granted both requests: $10,000 bail, electronic monitoring, ordered, on the record. For one moment, on paper, Meshay Melendez had something real. A judge had ordered a tracking device on the man the court itself had already marked as someone who shouldn't be anywhere near her. An app on her phone that would have told her, in real time, if he came near. The very next day, that district court case was dismissed. Not because anything had changed about the danger. It was dismissed so the charges could be folded into Warren's larger case in Superior Court, a routine administrative move. And somewhere in that shuffle, in that one day between the order and the dismissal, Kirkland Warren was never fitted with the monitor. 2,000 miles away, the same gap was happening in Arkansas. Vancouver police had flagged Warren's new arrest to Arkansas authorities on March 2nd, the same week it happened. But it took until March 14th for the actual motion to revoke his Arkansas bond to be filed 12 days later. By then, Warren had already been released in Washington for 6 days. And Meshay and Layla had already been gone for 2. 2 systems, 2 states. Both had a piece of paper that should have kept Kirkland Warren contained. Neither piece of paper caught up to him in time. What investigators eventually pulled out of the wreckage of those missing days, including something in the medical examiner's findings that tied this case back to Arkansas in a way nobody saw coming. That's what Silent Outcome is covering next. Stay with this one, because the rest of this case turns a disappearance into a confession nobody had to hear out loud. On the 18th of March, 2023, Nicole Norris did what she had never had to do before. She reported her daughter and granddaughter missing. It had been 6 days since anyone had heard from them. 6 days of a phone that should have rung for their regular video call and didn't. For a family built around that kind of contact, 6 days of silence wasn't a delay. It was a siren. The next day, March 19th, Vancouver police moved. They executed a search warrant at the home where Kirkland Warren was living, on Northeast 109th Avenue, and they took him into custody. This time, the charges stacked up fast: tampering with a witness, assault, drive-by shooting, unlawful possession of a firearm, and alongside all of it, something new. Police publicly named Kirkland Warren a person of interest in the disappearance of Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart. For 3 more days, the search continued. A community that had been holding its breath kept holding it. And then came March 22nd, the morning this story opened with. The embankment, the brush, the 2 bodies that a dog walker found off a back road near Washougal. What hadn't been said yet is what came after. The Clark County Medical Examiner's Office examined both Meshay and Layla, and the findings were direct. Both had died from gunshot wounds. The weapon was a small caliber handgun. Sit with that for a moment and think back to Arkansas. Think back to 2017. Think back to a man named Curtis Urquhart, shot with a .22. His body left in a ditch off a roadside in Stuttgart, Arkansas, 6 years before any of this. Nobody in Vancouver, Washington was thinking about Curtis Urquhart on the 22nd of March 2023, but the weapon was the same. The method was the same. A small caliber handgun. A body, or in this case, two, left off a rural road, away from anywhere they'd be easily found. This wasn't new behavior. This was a pattern that had simply never been stopped. For more than a year, Kirkland Warren maintained his innocence. Every charge, every count. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, on the record, again and again, while the case built around him. Then, on the 5th of September 2024, 4 days before his trial was set to begin, that stopped. Kirkland Warren pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the death of Meshay Melendez. And he pleaded guilty to aggravated first-degree murder in the death of 7-year-old Layla Stewart. Aggravated murder isn't just a heavier label. It carries a mandatory sentence, life in prison, without the possibility of parole, no matter what. In that same hearing, Warren also entered something called an Alford plea to first-degree child molestation, involving Layla. An Alford plea lets a defendant say, on paper, that they still maintain their innocence, while acknowledging that the evidence against them is strong enough to convict. It is, in practice, a guilty plea, wearing a thinner mask. And for a case that had already shown the world exactly how comfortable Kirkland Warren was with wearing masks, it was almost fitting that even his surrender came with one last layer of denial attached. Judge David Gregerson read part of the legal language behind the aggravated murder charge into the record that day. Among the lines he read aloud was a simple, 4-word fact, stated as part of the formal finding. There was more than one victim. A month later, on the 8th of October 2024, Warren stood in front of Gregerson again, this time for sentencing. The outcome was never in question. Aggravated murder meant life without parole, and that's exactly what he received. What happened around that sentence is where the weight of this case landed hardest. Lachey Gates, Layla's aunt, stood up and talked about something achingly small. She said she would never again get a call from Meshay telling her she was dropping Layla off, or that she was on her way to pick her up. 2 sentences that used to mean nothing. Now they meant everything. Ricardo, Meshay's brother, didn't hold back either. He called Warren soulless. He called him a narcissist. And family spokesperson Michelle Bart, a domestic violence advocate who had stood with this family through all of it, said it plainly. We are dealing with a monster. As Kirkland Warren was led out of that courtroom in handcuffs, people inside didn't stay quiet. They called out to him. They called him a coward. They called him a child molester. Both true. Both now permanently part of the record, in a courtroom, out loud, where everyone could hear it. The story had finally caught up to Kirkland Warren. It just took 2 years, 2 states, and the lives of a mother and her daughter to get there. Back on the 26th of March, 2023, people gathered in Vancouver for a vigil. Photos of Meshay and Layla were set out for everyone to see, the kind of photos families choose for moments like this, the ones where someone is laughing, or mid-sentence, or just being exactly who they were. A funeral followed. One of the phrases chosen for that day was simple, "Forever remain in our hearts." But before any of that, there was the moment the family found out. Tara Verde Trejo, a family friend, has talked about it since. She remembers the knock at the door. She remembers Nicole Norris's reaction when she was told that Meshay and Layla weren't coming home. Not a phone call, not a piece of news delivered gently over time. a knock, and then a sentence that changed the rest of Nicole Norris's life all at once, standing in a doorway. That kind of moment doesn't end. It just changes shape over time. And for this family, it changed into something else, a fight. In September of 2025, Meshay's mother, Nicole Norris, and Javante Stewart filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Clark County. The lawsuit lays out, in legal language, what this family had been saying since the week their daughters disappeared. That Clark County probation knew exactly how dangerous Kirkland Warren was, and that without real supervision in place, he was left free to do what he did. That lawsuit was filed during the same week as something else, something that has nothing to do with courtrooms or negligence claims or legal filings, and everything to do with what this case actually took. If you've stayed with this story all the way to here, I'd genuinely like to hear what you think. Drop a comment and tell me how you feel about the way this case was handled, from that first court hearing all the way to a life sentence 2 years later. And if you're new to this channel, Silent Outcome is already working on the next case, so stick around for that one too. That week in September of 2025 should have been a celebration. Layla Stewart should have turned 10 years old. There should have been a cake. There should have been a party, the kind a 7-year-old plans for months in advance, counting down the days out loud to anyone who would listen. Instead, there was a lawsuit and a calendar date that came and went with no candles to blow out. Nicole Norris has said that the day she lost Meshay and Layla, she lost a part of herself too. She said it plainly, the way people do when grief stops being something they're going through and becomes something they simply are now. She is no longer a girl mom. She is no longer a grandmother.
At Evergreen Memorial Gardens in Vancouver, balloons and flowers cover the graves of Meshay Melendez and her 7-year-old daughter, Layla Stewart.
They're just missed so much.
It's been 2 years this weekend, March 22nd, 2023, since their lives were taken.
Just full of life. Yeah, they were fun to be around.
The mother and daughter were found shot to death alongside a rural road near Washougal. The two had been missing for several days. Melendez's ex-boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, was ultimately arrested, charged, and pled guilty to their murders. In October, he was sentenced to life in prison.
He should have had an electronic ankle monitor on. He should have been watched. 2 years.
Michelle Bart, president of the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation, says Warren should never have been free in the first place. Just days before their disappearance, in a separate incident, he was arrested for shooting at and threatening Meshay. Despite being labeled a threat, he was released without an ankle monitor, even though at the time he was also out on bail for a 2017 murder charge in Arkansas, something Michelle Bart considers a failure of justice.
Everyone says closure and justice. There will never be closure or justice because the systems in 2 jurisdictions failed. Not only these two, but a man in Arkansas.
2 years later, family and advocates still searching for answers.
We still are seeking answers to why he did not have the ankle monitor on.
Washington already has laws designed to prevent tragedies like this. The Tiffany Hill Act, passed in 2020, allows courts to order GPS ankle monitors for people accused of domestic violence. Those devices can alert victims and police when an offender is nearby.
If there's laws on the books, we need to use those laws. Otherwise, why do we have them?
As these questions remain unanswered, friends and loved ones continue to grieve.
I just still remember the knock, the cry of Nicole when they told her that they would not be coming back.
People had nothing but loving things to say both about Meshay and Layla. Some of them told me they didn't know them personally but wanted to show their support in any way that they could after hearing the heartbreaking story of their disappearance and now death.
We're here to have a public vigil and a call to action that the senseless murder of Meshay and Layla did not have to happen.
On Sunday morning, hundreds of people flooded Esther Short Park to remember 27-year-old Meshay Melendez and her young daughter, Layla Stewart, after their bodies were found in Washougal last Wednesday. As of Sunday afternoon, no arrests have been made in the murders, but police have identified Kirkland Warren, Meshay's boyfriend, as a person of interest in their disappearance. After court documents show he assaulted and shot at Meshay's apartment and pressured her into dropping the charges.
Meshay had a restraining order against him, and this is the outcome. That's not right.
Michelle Bart is the president of NW Cave, a Vancouver nonprofit that educates and prevents violence and exploitation against women and children. She says this case has been one of the hardest she's worked on, as it hit her on a personal level.
My friend, who I didn't even know was a school teacher, is Layla's PE teacher, so it took on personal meaning.
Close friends with Layla and Meshay. Layla was pretty much my niece. So yeah, this has been very heartbreaking.
Randall shares her daughter and Layla were born just 2 weeks apart, so they had an incredibly close connection.
We hope something changes. We hope that if a victim comes out and they're scared, that the police do way more than what they did for her.
The Vancouver mayor and police chief spoke at the vigil and shared their condolences with the family, alongside Representative Sharon Wiley and Senator Linda Wilson, who sponsored the Tiffany Hill Act, a bill that orders domestic violence abusers to wear a GPS ankle monitor to notify the victim when their abuser is close by.
This can't keep happening, and I can't imagine the call or the knock at the door when you're told that your family is gone.
We really want to honor the family and make sure they get lots of support for that Layla and her mom is gone.
Layla's schoolmates also showed their support at the vigil, sharing she was a kind and friendly little girl who had many friends at school.
It's hard to imagine something like that happening, for sure, and I have a lot of empathy and compassion, and like I said, we just wanted to be really supportive and let them know that people care and care enough to come out and do this.
Bart tells KGW NW Cave will be looking for funeral homes that can bury both Meshay and Layla together. They have also started a memorial fund for funeral costs. You can find that link on kgw.com.